What is up, Comic Book Nation? Connor Casey here, and today I am hosting our very own bonus episode. I am joined by Evan Valentine, and Evan, got a little bit of news to cover in the world of Dragon Ball, one of the great animes out there. But there's some news, Evan. There's some controversial news, and it's that we've got a brand new series. I'm very confused as to what this is. So after we are a day removed from the announcement at New York Comic Con, can you tell me what the hell am I looking at?
Of course, Connor. Thank you for having me. As you know, New York Comic Con had a rather big announcement in the fact that there is a new Dragon Ball anime series that will be arriving next fall in 2024. It is called Dragon Ball Daima. Folks might have seen rumors about this under a title of Dragon Ball Magic. Daima is actually, it's not quite magic in Japanese, but it actually means like kind of supernatural or an evil magic, which kind of refers to what is happening with Goku and the rest of the Z Fighters. As everyone can see from the trailer and the promotional images, much like Dragon Ball GT, all of the Z Fighters have been transformed into tiny children, thanks to a conspiracy that has been put into motion by a villain unknown. And we're in store for seeing once again Goku traveling across the galaxy as a kid, much like the original Dragon Ball and much like Dragon Ball GT.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the big question then, Evan, and I'm sure it's on the mind of many Dragon Ball fans. Why?
Why?
Why is this a thing?
For folks who might not be up to speed on everything that is Dragon Ball Daima, creator Akira Toriyama did state that he is very involved with this series, much like he was with Dragon Ball Super Superhero. He came up with the original story idea for this, has been helping with creating the episodes and everything like that. This is a story that, while it did not take place in the manga, it is considered canon. And I think that a lot of folks are confused as to when this takes place. It does not take place after Dragon Ball Super Superhero. It does not take place before the Moro arc, before the Granola arc that has already taken place in the manga. This takes place between, and take out your note-taking pads on this. So this takes place after the destruction of Kid Buu, toward the end of Dragon Ball Z, but before the end of Z, which takes place after the events of Dragon Ball Super. So this takes place around the time when Kid Buu was killed, but before the start of Dragon Ball Super.
Correct.
So I don't think that we're necessarily going to see characters like Beerus and Whis make appearances. More than likely, we're not going to see stuff like Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan
Key,
Blue.
even, which is a concept that's a decade old at this point.
And so this is really going to be its own thing. It's going to still be considered canon. I don't expect there to be a lot of new transformations considering when it takes place and everything. But as opposed to Dragon Ball GT, where only Goku was transformed into a kid, all of the Z Fighters and their allies like Vegeta, Krillin, Master Roshi, Yamcha, Mr. Satan, and many other characters have also been transformed into kids. So this is, from what I hear, this is going to kind of have more of a skew towards more of a younger audience. So who knows how many like brutal knockdown drag out fights there are going to be in this. But we'll just have to wait and see until next year when it comes out.
You mentioned GT, and I feel like that's the immediate comparison that everybody is making. And GT exists in this weird world where it wasn't well received when it came out. There is fandom for concepts like Super Saiyan 4, even to this day.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That has always managed to kind of linger on. And Super has always kind of played fast and loose with the idea of this takes place after Buu, but before everything with Oob and the ultimate end of DBZ. And we've all just been kind of waiting for them to either say that original ending isn't canon, or we hit that and then move past it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this, because when the rumors came out, the only photo anybody seemed to get their hands on was just Supreme Kai and Goku being kids, and they're traveling the galaxy. That's how GT started, was Goku's a kid, he needs to travel the galaxy, get the Black Star Dragon Balls, or else the Earth explodes. Obviously, the series took a vastly different direction by the time it was over. Is this a Toriyama's attempt at doing his own GT? Is this Dragon Ball Muppet Babies? Like, what's the general thought process behind this?
It is in fact Dragon Ball Junior. No, I think that, so the funny thing about Akira Toriyama is that he knows Dragon Ball GT exists, but he didn't really have any say in it. He has drawn Super Saiyan 4 in the past, but it's never like officially appeared, regardless of how cool it is. I mean, because Super Saiyan 4 is cool. But is this his way of creating his own GT? You know, honestly, like, I don't know. He hasn't mentioned anything specifically or officially about that. It certainly seems that way. I mean, just in terms of they haven't introduced the Black Star Dragon Balls. But it sure seems like they are taking a similar approach. I mean, outside of even Goku turning into a kid, the fact that he has to travel around the galaxy in order to, like, you know, make everyone adults again and make himself an adult again certainly kind of seems like it's the same structure as Dragon Ball GT. And hopefully there are cool things that they can incorporate into this that can be similar to GT, because, like, as you said, Super Saiyan 4 continues to be a part of the franchise. It appears in the spin-off series Super Dragon Ball Heroes, where they just throw everything in the kitchen sink into it. Not considered canon.
But the irony is, I always saw Super Saiyan 4 as Toei admitting turning Goku into a kid was a mistake, and that was their way of getting out of it. But now Toriyama said, that's the one note I'm taking, is they're all babies.
It's kind of, in a way, and if you do research, like, on the creation of Dragon Ball GT and how it kind of progressed, they were going for more of a feel of the original Dragon Ball, which was more about adventure versus, like, the fights of Dragon Ball Z. And after a little bit, which is, like, you know, the inclusion of Super Saiyan 4, the introduction of Baby, the villain.
Well, and if you just watch the American version, the irony is, if you start with that version, they deliberately cut like the first 20 episodes, which is all the galaxy exploration stuff, because they realized, oh, this isn't working at all. Jump right to Baby, because nobody likes this.
It's and certainly for Western audiences. The ironic thing with Dragon Ball Daima is that for Western audiences, I don't think it's a secret that Western audiences are kind of mixed in terms of what they've seen before. But for the most part, a lot of the Japanese audience is really into it. They really like seeing Goku as a kid, and, like, everybody else kind of as kids being in these crazy situations and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how this is taken by Dragon Ball fans the world over, and if this is able to kind of beat the thought that this is, like, you know, Dragon Ball GT Light or Dragon Ball Babies or whatever. So, like, it's, I mean, like, you know, when we were talking before we started, one of the things that I pointed out was just, like, the animation is killer. Yes. I think that, like, this is certainly Toei is clearly, you know, they're not going in necessarily the direction of superhero, and maybe they're, like, upping things from when Dragon Ball Super originally ended in 2017 with the Tournament of Power. So this will not, I think it's important to also stress that this will not be a series that continues on to, as far as we know, that continues on for, like, 150 plus episodes, like Super and Z and things like that.
See, that was my next question, because the future of Super has always kind of been left up in the air because the anime ended. We've had 2 major arcs since then with Moro and Granola. We've had the movies. We've had it confirmed to us that Superhero takes place after Granola. The manga is catching up with that right now. And there's been every year we keep waiting for when is the anime coming back. And now we get this. So is Super ever coming back? Is this replacing Super? Does this come out after Super? Like, what do you think here?
I think it's only a matter of time. And it's not the answer that a lot of folks want. And I think that that's the answer that I don't want. That, like, I would have loved for them to have started the Moro arc next year. I mean, like, logically looking at this, we're probably not going to get, if the Moro arc starts and we get a Dragon Ball Super 2, we're probably not getting it until 2025. Like, that would probably be kind of a realistic guess in terms of when it starts. But there's so many potential years of episodes that can be released. I think that, like, the Moro arc in itself, was the longest Dragon Ball Super arc of any of them. So it could that alone could last, I don't know, maybe like 2 years or something like that. The Granola arc could last another year or so, and that's not even taking into consideration adapting the movies for the TV series, as well as continuing to follow along with the manga that is releasing on a steady clip of once a month.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna have to wait. It's not the best answer in the world in terms of when we can expect the Moro arc to start. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait for Toei to kind of get things rolling with Dragon Ball Super and return to that. And we'll see how Dragon Ball Daima is received by people. It's like it's gonna be interesting, if nothing else. I think that it's
Last Super question: is the manga continuing, or are they taking another break?
As far as we know, there has been no hints that there is going to be a hiatus or a break. They are very, very close. We actually just printed an article earlier today about the draft for the next chapter of Dragon Ball Super. They are fighting Cell Max right now in the manga. They've introduced Orange Piccolo. The next is probably going to be, Gohan Beast is going to show up. So we probably, like, if you look at it for how much is left in the movie, we're probably looking at 2 or 3 more additional chapters, which means that in the next month or so, I would have to imagine we'll either get news that they are going to go on a hiatus to kind of think about what they want to do with the next arc, which a lot of people are thinking is going to be Black Frieza, because Black Frieza is like took over the internet when he was introduced at the end of the Granola saga. Or they'll just, start immediately. Maybe they've already been thinking about this and they kind of use Superhero to kind of think about where they want to go in the future. But as far as we know, Super doesn't appear to be stopping anytime soon. It looks like Toriyama and the artist Toyotaro, who works very closely with him, are planning on sticking with Goku and the rest for quite a while, as far as we know. It certainly seems as though Akira Toriyama has a lot of ideas in terms of, because he's also working on a yet unknown movie. We've reported on that in the past. There's like no details about it, but like he has an idea for something that will happen eventually. So yeah, he's with the series. As far as we know, it's going to keep going.
Let me ask you this. We'll wrap it up with kind of this big picture question. Between Super's kind of tenuous state that it's been in the past few years, the movies being legitimately excellent, the last 2 especially, and now Daima, which is, like you said, the Japanese fans are really they're really attracted to this. Western audiences seem to be pretty cautious because they remember GT. Do you think this is the right direction to take this franchise overall? And is Dragon Ball in a good place right now?
Well, first off, I'll start with the latter. Is Dragon Ball in a good place right now? I think so. I think that there's always been a lot of discussion about whether or not we needed Dragon Ball Super at all. And I think that Dragon Ball Super as a sequel series has been able to justify itself with some really cool moments. I think that like stuff like Frieza coming back in the Tournament of Power, amazing. Stuff like Super Saiyan Blue and like the introduction of the different universes in general.
Hit.
There's
Where's my boy
cool...
Hit? I demand more of the space assassin.
Yeah.
Disrespect.
Yeah, Hit. Man, so the funny thing is that after the Tournament of Power, and sorry, I'm going on a tangent on this, but after the Tournament of Power, the universes have kind of not been as much of the focus for they didn't really make much of an appearance in Moro, and they didn't really make an appearance at all in Granola. So like that's hopefully something that they can do, moving forward. But is Dragon Ball Daima necessary? Is it a worthy addition? I think that at the end of the day, if Akira Toriyama wants to do it and he had an idea and he was confident about it, then I think he deserves us to give it a chance. We should give it a chance. I think that there are a lot of things in the Dragon Ball world that folks might have originally seen that they didn't necessarily like. I'll give you like an example of me. Like I remember seeing Super Saiyan Blue for the first time and just scratching my head because I was like, oh man, like they're just turning.
Don't you mean
blue.
Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, I'm having a stroke?
Yeah. Ascended Super Saiyan level 2. Like, oh man.
Stop. Super Saiyan Royal Blue, like whatever the hell that little
Royal
transformation
Blue
Vegeta had.
Only happens in the anime.
Make it stop.
It's a lot. It's a lot to remember. But ultimately, like, certainly, like, if I didn't have the job that I was doing, I think I would still check out Daima. I think that there's enough here to kind of at least give it like a few episodes to see what Toriyama is kind of looking to do with it. Kind of his ideas for the story. I think that Toriyama, as much as folks, I mean, nothing's ever going to beat Dragon Ball Z. I think that it's really tough because you're constantly comparing everything that comes after, Dragon Ball Z to the GOAT, to the gold standard of shonen anime. And I think that going for things that are different with the Dragon Ball world is a way to help not only like spread it to different viewerships and everything, but help give like the series longevity. So yeah, I mean, I'm willing to check it out. I think I always try to look at things on the brighter side. And I think that maybe like the first footage of this, people are a little standoffish. Yeah, it's easy to compare it to GT. I think it's like it's there. It's everybody's turning into kids. But it'll be interesting to see how it lands. It'll be interesting to see what Toriyama has in mind with this story and like what surprises it has in store for folks. So yeah,
for sure. Now this is dropping, correct me if I'm wrong, fall of 24.
Yeah, fall of next. So we're probably a year out.
And just the sub, right? We don't even know if a dub is going to exist.
Yeah, I would imagine that a dub will happen.
I hope
eventually. Though I have been proven wrong. Like there isn't a dub for Super Dragon Ball Heroes at all.
Probably for the best.
And yeah, probably for the best. But folks should keep. And I don't know the precise date of this. I think it's on October 28th. But there is going to be a Dragon Ball video game showcase where they've said that they're actually going to reveal some new stuff about Daima as well. So we'll see what they have to say then, and we'll see if they release any new footage to kind of give us a better idea of what is in store for the for Goku and the Z Fighter babies.
But enough about that. Budokai Tenkaichi is coming back, baby. But anyway, you guys can check the full coverage on all things Dragon Ball Daima over at comicbook.com. You can follow them on Twitter over at comicbookanime, and you can follow Evan on Twitter. Where are they at? Where you at, bud?
I'm at EV Comedy
on
Twitter /X/ whatever it's called now.
I'm calling it Twitter until the URL changes. But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter over at Connor Casey CBS. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.